Welcome back to the show, everybody. He's Dan Shaughnessy. I'm Ben Volen. All right, Dan, we spent a lot of time talking about the Patriots blowout in Super Bowl 60. Let's look ahead to the 2026 season. What do you foresee for these Patriots moving forward now?
Well, it's weird. You're in the Super Bowl with a young team, young quarterback. So traditionally that would be, oh, these guys are here to stay and they'll be back here next year. It's hard to say that because as we all know, the schedule is very easy this year. It's very hard next year. I think they're probably at the top tier of the conference, but not number one by any measure going into next year. And they're going to lose a lot more games next year, I expect. They only lost 3 this year. I mean, you can talk to me about the schedule next year.
The schedule, I think, is going to be significantly difficult next year. And not just because, obviously you don't know which teams are going to be good, but you do know that a trip to Kansas City is always going to be difficult. You know, even if it's week 2 and Mahomes is still not, fully himself coming off that ACL. But you know a trip to Kansas City is going to be difficult. They're going to have to go out west to the Chargers. They play the NFC North next year.
How about a trip to Seattle?
They were going to get a trip to Seattle, too. So that's 2 West Coast trips. Might end up being the kickoff game on Thursday night, do a Super Bowl rematch, Patriots at Seahawks. So, yeah, 2 trips to the West Coast. You're going to have to play the NFC North as well. So I think that's at Chicago, at Detroit. Those are going to be tough teams. You have to play Josh Allen twice, obviously. And then, this season, I honestly think a big part of their success was they were able to get in a great rhythm with all these 1 o'clock Sunday starts. I think they played 13 or 14 of them every week. Set your watch to it on the same schedule. Forget about that for next year. They're going to be the darlings again. A lot of night games, probably maybe a Thanksgiving game, probably an international game. Maybe they go to Munich or something. The schedule is going to be all messed up next year, and it's going to be a lot harder to get into a rhythm.
Well, and a spinoff of yesterday's disaster, last night's disaster, I think, is that they know they have work to do. If they had played well or won that game last night, we'd be feeling great, no doubt. But you also might have a false sense of how good you are. They don't have that now. They know there's work to be done, and I think that work will be done through the draft, offensive line, taking care of issues, as you referenced earlier, receivers, age of some of their people like that. They spent a lot of money in this offseason. They drafted well, but there's work to be done. I think that this experience will make them do it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You don't want to put too much into one loss here in the Super Bowl, but it does put all your deficiencies in a glaring spotlight. Yeah. And so I think absolutely this was good for the Patriots in that it showed them, no, you are not a finished product. This was really just year 1 of a rebuild. You have many steps ahead. The first step has to be rebuilding the offensive line. And before last night, I would have said maybe defense needs to be your top priority just because they haven't used many draft picks on defensive players the last couple of years. They are a little older on defense, but they've got to fix the offensive line. I think they really need to consider moving Will Campbell to left guard. At first, I thought maybe you give him one more chance in a sophomore season, let him bulk up a little bit. He played well enough this year, but his playoff run, I think, was just very stark with how much opposing teams went after him. So I would move him inside. I think they need some help at, maybe move on from Garrett Bradbury at center. The offensive line absolutely has to be the first place they start.
One thing they don't need to do is address the quarterback issue. He didn't have a great game, didn't have a great playoff, but he is still the guy. He is a quarterback you build around. They know that. And any fans that are deceiving themselves by listening to the narratives on ESPN and stuff like that today, don't fall for it. This guy is still the guy. And I think the fact that he comes from such good stock, 3 older brothers, a sports family, he's not going to rattle. He's not going to become Tony Easton and never be the same guy again because of one bad game or not a great playoff. I think he's got the fortitude and the character to go from here, and you will see him again in big games very soon.
I couldn't agree more. This loss was not on Drake May. Was he at his sharpest? Of course not. The pass rush was in his face all night, and he would look like a deer in the headlights. But this was not on Drake May. This was on the people in front of him and the people around him, and the Patriots, definitely need to improve that. But, big picture, you got the coach, you got the quarterback. Every team is still jealous of the Patriots where they're at right now. We got about 10 seconds left. Things are the future's looking pretty bright here for the Patriots.
It's bright. I'm just not sure if we're going to be here this time next year. The Super Bowl's at SoFi Stadium in LA next year, so that'll be there. We may not be, but take heart. It's a long road, and just be grateful they got here this once.
And next year is probably going to be a Hall of Fame palooza for the Patriots with Gronk, and I bet Belichick and Kraft get it in. All right, that's going to wrap it up here from San Francisco. He's Dan Shaughnessy. I'm Ben Volen. This has been the Boston Globe Sports Report.